Hi there. This is a demo of how to do styling on an A in HTML. The A is the anchor element, and it allows us to provide hyperlinks in our HTML documents. Hyperlinks are the basis for the web, right? Whenever we are working with hyperlinks, we are basically exploring how to create websites and then how the web was created by linking from one site to another into this system that we know of as the World Wide Web. So, without further ado, I want to show you how we get that done. And so, here we go. The the way this works is that I have the styling -a.html file down here, and this is the subject of the lesson. And this corresponds to the marking elements on the page. And then over here, we have the CSS file. And so this CSS file is where I'm going to be typing all of the style for this lesson. So when we're working with HTML links, we have a couple of different states that we can use. And two of them are kind of evident. Actually, three of them are kind of evident here. The first one is the unvisited link, or the default style for a link. And so that's our first level. Once we've visited a link, which means that we've clicked on it and we've gone to that resource, there's a color change by default that occurs in HTML. And so the differences are, and actually the standards are, that one is blue and one is purple. Okay. The third thing that you'll notice is when I mouse over a link, it changes my cursor from the pointer that we're accustomed to a hand. Well, this is a pointer, so it changes from a cursor of an arrow to a cursor of a pointer. And then we also have two additional states. There is a focus. That's what happens whenever I am moving from an arrow to a pointer. And then there is a click, which will change to active. And then the last one is one called focus, and I'll talk about that in a second. So, in order to style these changes and make them evident to you, I'm going to put in some CSS code. The first one I'm going to put in is a link. The second one I'm going to put in is a visited. The third I'll put in is a focus. The fourth is a hover. And the fifth is a active. Okay. As with anything on the web, there are many ways to do things, and some of them are best practices, some of them are recommended practices, and then some of them are things that you can do to kind of mess around and have some fun by changing the order of things. But the order that I learned these in is LVHA, LVHA. And focus is a different one because it was added after learning that we don't always just mouse over things, because with tablets and with touchscreens, we have the ability to have focus on something and allow it to be highlighted. We can also have it be tabbed to if we're using the tab key on a traditional keyboard. And so whenever our link has focus, that has a fifth state that we can add to things. And so what do I mean by states? Well, by default, the link is going to be available, and I can change the color of that state to, let's say, a lighter blue. So I'm going to change this to maybe a 9999FF. Okay. And you'll see that it kind of has this light purplish sort of tint to it. And so I've changed the link color for that. That's the default. And so any new link that I add to this page, if I go in here and say copy and paste this and change the link to, let's say, google.com. I have not visited that link. And so over here, once I'm looking at styling-a.html, I have links that I will not and have not visited in this browser. So the next one I can change is the visited color. And keeping with the theme, I'm going to make this one a little bit more purplish. So I'll go FF99FF. And I'm missing my opening and closing curly braces. And so now I have a pink visited link here. And I've got this purple and pinkish sort of color scheme happening here. What I might want to do is pull back on the threes, the colors here to make this a little bit more blue. And let's make it 3333CC. And that's going to give me a blue color that I feel comfortable with. It looks a lot like the default, so we might go back in and mess around with that later. The third is the hover. I'm going to do hover before I do focus. This hover is fun. Let's make this color an orangish color. So I'm going to go FF6600 for that color. And we can see what that looks like. Once I've saved any link that I mouse over, I will be able to see that change for the hover link. Okay. The fourth one that I'll cover is active. So I'll do a color for active, and let's make this a bright red so that we can see it happening. So I've saved and go over to here and watch what happens. So this is the orange of my mouse over that's going to be using focus. And once I click here, notice that it changes to red. Okay. So that color changing from an orange to a red is by virtue of it being the active color. The fifth one that I want to do is the focus pseudoselector. And so I'll make that color a gray. So I'll make that a straight up gray. Right? And watch what happens. So I go over to here. And if I have clicked on this link before, right, I've been interacting with this link, so it has focus. So that focus color actually applies whenever I have added focus to that particular item. Well, watch what happens when I hit tab. As I'm tabbing through, the focus color is going to change with my tab strokes. Okay, it's also going to change whenever I mouse over it and leave it. It's going to remind us that that thing has focus. So one of the things we could do for focus is, instead of doing a color change, or maybe in addition for this lesson, we could put a border style on this that allows us to do, let's say, a 2-pixel dotted, and I guess we'll stay consistent with the gray color, and so that's going to be our focus. And so you notice that whenever I tap through, anything that has my focus will have that, or any A that has my focus will have that connected to it. And I'm hitting tab on the keyboard to go through all three of these. And you notice that whenever it has focus, it gets that dotted line. So that means that I might not want to have the color on there. And so part of this lesson is that you might want to make different choices than just the colors. Okay, so once again, I'm going to tab through, and once something is active, so I click on it, that border will come in, and that retains its focus, and so the focus is going to be that dotted line, and kind of cycle through that way. All right. Well, so that's it for the first bite-sized lesson for how to do all of the different links and style those. You can style these to your heart's content, and so play around with the CSS, try different things, add lots of properties to these. You can style them just like any other CSS, and I hope you have some fun. Talk soon.